There's a lot of talk about this new Mavs offense. What exactly is it? And is there hope for the Mavs to turn this thing around on the offensive side of the ball? On today's Locked On Mavs.
This is Cooper Flagg, and you're listening to Locked On Mavs.
Zone 5.
Explain yourself like that.
All these changes, I still got my dog Dwight Powell.
You are Locked On Mavs.
Great,
your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Still killing
Your team every day.
I'm going to get a city like that.
You are locked on the Dallas Mavericks. This is one of your co-hosts, Isaac Harris, covering the Mavs for the last 10 seasons alongside my good friend Nick Angstead. And we're here. The Mavs are 1-3. Let's do this thing. Let's talk about some Mavs offense today. This is one more thing because I kind of spent post-game the other night against OKC. I just want to, I'm just fascinated by the offense right now for Dallas. What's not working, this new system. They're trying to implement this new system. It's Jay Triano, an assistant for Jason Kidd. He's this Canadian basketball coach. He spent time in different teams, and more recently, that time in Sacramento, it's where he implemented this offense. That was the beam team. Light the beam. That fun is like the one time that the Kings were fun in the last, I don't know, since Vlade, Chris Webber, Bobby Jackson, Mike Bibby days, Doug Christie, Peja. Let's keep on shouting them out there. So it's like, all right, so how can they take that offense, bring it to Dallas? How much of a difference is that going to be? And it's just clearly not working. And so I asked Kidd, asked Max Christie, asked AD something about it. And because I wanted to do a type of show, like you go back 10 years ago, I would have written about it. Now we're podcasting about it because I think podcasting is, or video and stuff, content is kind of the new wave of it. So for me, it's like, how bad is it? How bad is the Mavs offense right now? It's pretty bad, right? They're 30th in the league in offensive rating as of, middle of the day. On Tuesday, they've played 4 games. They've scored under 95 points 2 times. So 2 out of the 4 times they've scored under 95 points. You say, Isaac, how many times did they do that last year? They did that last year 1 time. They scored under 95 points 1 time last year. They're struggling. That they're struggling whenever the pairing of Jaden Hardy and D'Angelo Russell looks like the next, it made them look like the answers to every offense in the league because they just desperately need somebody out there that can move the ball. It can be a point guard that can settle them down, that can bring the ball up the floor and get the offense going. So it's pretty bad, right? There's hardly any offensive identity. You could try to figure out like, hey, what's the best play that they run right now? Good luck. Hey, what's their like go-to play? What do you spam whenever it's, it's a tight moment, you just need buckets or things aren't working. Like, you can go to this play and this will work. They don't have any of that right now. So we know it's bad. How do they have hope? And at the end of this, I think there's some signs that you can look at and say, all right, I think there's a little bit of hope here. I'm still concerned. But second here, is it bad? Yes, it's bad on the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side too, but not as worried about the defensive side. We're like, all right, what is this offense? What is this? Jay Triano, we've heard these words thrown out there of like motion offense. It's not really like a motion offense. It's like the next evolution of it. If motion was Charmander, and shout out Bobby here for Pokemon, this offense is more like a Charmeleon. I think that's the in between of that and Charizard. And it's like an evolution of like a motion offense. It's like this flow offense, but it's also like a form of the Princeton offense. If you go back and you know anything about the Princeton offense, that was, created a long time ago. And it's this offense that's built on movement, cutting, trust. it is an offense built around, especially like the Princeton offense. When you look at like, hey, teams that ran the Princeton offense or run an offense like this, the ball runs through a playmaking, high IQ big man. That a lot of times that, the big, in this case, Anthony Davis, in the past, it was Sabonis, that a lot of the actions in this offense starts with the big coming up and catching the ball at the high post, at the elbow. And that's the part that then you have all these different actions after that. You want to run a split action with the guards, you can do that. You want to run a zoom action after the guard, pass it to the big there. You could do that. There's I'm just throwing names out here, and you guys can look this up. But there's like chin, there's point, there's low post, there's different angles. Just like you can imagine, an NBA offense has all of these different layers. All of these like different tentacles of an octopus that goes down these different paths and these different actions. And you're like, all right, so what is the biggest difference? Why does it look so weird now? Well, one, you had Luka Doncic before. High isolation offense. The positions around Luka, very defined, right? You have a defined 5-man who does this role and is like sets the pick roll. They ran a lot of, you knew that you could spam the high pick and roll with Luka and the big on the floor, and that big was going to roll to the basket. And then you could pass it to the big and there's a short roll and he could decide on where he's going to pass the ball. You have the shooters in these very defined spots on the floor, and you're like, you're a shooter, you're a shooter, you're a shooter, stay there. And then you kind of like let Luka be the quarterback, heavy isolation, and then it's like, bam, you do your thing. That's a style of offense, right? There's also styles of offense that it has a lot of pick and rolls. There's a style of offense that has constant play calling, right? Some coaches like having constant play calling. Like they're going to call a ton of plays for the point guard out there, run a lot of different sets. This offense isn't that. This offense, there's spots on the floor still. Yes. Especially when you come down on offense, they're going to fill those, corners like a lot of teams on transition. They like the big to kind of establish position there in the paint underneath the basket, whether they're going to get the ball or they clear him out and they pin him down for the guy to go in to score. But I know this podcast is probably losing some of you, and you're like, I don't really care about the intricacies of an offense, but I think it's important because I think this is one of the top talking points for the Mavs right now. What this offense tries to create is basically they try to find ways to get buckets at the free throw line area, layups, or corner 3-pointers. This is where they're trying to find the open shots, and it is constant movement. Constant movement. I asked Jason Kidd post OKC game, I said, hey, what's the hardest part of this new offense to implement? And he said, understanding the spots on the floor and knowing that when you hit the paint, you're trusting that there is a teammate out there. Max Christie, when I talked to him about his kind of role in this offense, and he said this line, he said, Jay Triano, the coach of the offense, kind of like the offensive coordinator, if you want to go that route. He said his word is sacrifice, because you're constantly cutting and moving. In the past offense, when you have a heavy isolation offense with one player, I'm not saying that's bad, it's just different type of offense. You're used to kind of like standing around, right? You got to stay in your exact spots. How many times do we see Luka drive and jump up in the air and then do the crazy pass because he knew PJ Washington's going to be in this exact spot over on the left-hand corner? And it's like, bam, all right, he knew the spot. Stay in the spot. I mean, how many times we have Luka point at somebody and be like, stay there. Like, I knew you were going to be. This one's the opposite. I mean, if you stand still, then you're not part of this offense. Like, you're not playing this offense well. This isn't what this offense is built for. It is move, move, move. You're going to touch the paint. This is one of the things with his offense. If you can break your defender down, get into the paint, touch the paint, draw in another defender, kick the ball out, and then hopefully you're going to have these, it's like a ripple effect of these rotations of defender leaving his guy, defender leaving his guy. Then you're going to find the open shot, but you don't pass the ball in the paint and stop. You pass and relocate. it is constant movement, and you're moving. So when I asked Max Christie about this offense, because when you do any type of have any type of conversations about this Princeton offense or this flow offense, a lot of people will tell you like, hey, it's kind of hard to learn. It's kind of hard to implement. Like you need a specific set of players. You need high IQ players. You got to have 100% buy-in, right? Because you got to keep moving. And Max, I thought he said this well when, the comment of like, hey, we're playing with a lot of stress right now. We're kind of disorganized. We're learning a new system and the growing pains. But Max, when I asked him about this, he said, hey, there's a lot of bodies moving around and you're constantly trying to figure out not just when to cut, but when not to cut. So when you have so much movement, this is where it will take a little bit of time because not everybody's playing a system like this. Caleb Martin has, and you know who somebody else is that's playing really good basketball that's played in a system like this in Charlotte with Jay Triano? PJ Washington. He's probably had the best start to the season for the Mavs, unless you want to go with some of the counting stats with AD. So you're like, hey, what else do we need? Nick just texted me right now in the middle of the podcast. Don't interrupt me, Nick. And now I'm on a roll. So it's like, all right, well, what about the roster construction? Works or is not working for Dallas? Is it the right roster construction? What do you need for an offense like this? Coming up right after the break. This podcast is brought to you by our friends, maybe some new friends over at Quo. Yeah, like status quo. One of the tools that help make a huge difference for business owners is Quo, formerly OpenPhone. It's the same great business phone system you've heard me talk about before, just with a new name. And here's why it matters. Every missed call is money left on the table. When every customer conversation counts, you need a phone system that keeps you connected 24/7. Quo is the #1 business phone system that streamlines customer communications. It works right through an app on your phone computer, so no more carrying two phones or relying on a landline. See, over 90,000 businesses trust Quo, formerly OpenPhone. Get started free and get 20% off your first 6 months at quo.com/LockedOnNBA. That's QUO.com/LockedOnNBA. And if you got existing numbers with another service, Quo will port them over at no extra charge. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. This podcast is also brought to you by our friends over at Rippling. Ooh, Rippling. If you're a business owner, here's the truth. SaaS promised to make work easier, but now the average company is buried to hundreds of apps that slow down your teams and simply don't work together. That's not SaaS. That's sad. This is incredible. Software as a service. That's why you need Rippling. Rippling is a unified platform for global HR, payroll, IT, finance, all of your favorite departments here in an organization, all in one place. They've helped millions of businesses replace a mess of disconnected tools with one system designed to give leaders clarity, speed, and control everything. From onboarding to payroll to IT access, it runs automatically and perfectly in sync. And right now you can get 6 months free when you go to rippling.com/LockedOnNBA. Learn more at rippling.com/LockedOnNBA. That's rippling.com/LockedOnNBA for 6 months free. Big breath here. This podcast is also brought to you by our friends over at Peloton. Guys, when I first heard about Peloton, I thought it was just the stationary bikes. It's so much more. It's shaping the future of fitness with a brand new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus. Powered by Peloton IQ, it's their most advanced equipment yet, designed to give you real-time guidance and endless ways to move. Whether you're running, lifting, or cross-training with your favorite instructors, this is training reimagined. Peloton's built for breakthroughs with tools that help you plan, stay motivated, and reach peak performance. I love how Peloton IQ system offers real-time strength coaching. That's kind of cool, and you don't even have to be in person. So let yourself lift, flex, and push forward. Explore the new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus today at onepeloton.com.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
All right. Whew. Now I can breathe here for a second. But hey, ads are good things. That's what keeps us paid in the space. and keeps us cranking out content for you guys. Talking about this offense today, and hopefully it's not boring you too much, but it's all about movement, this new system that we've been talking about. One of the biggest things, and I think is one of the hardest things for this team right now because of how they're constructed, is you need shooters. I mean, like Isaac, doesn't every system need shooters? Yeah, I mean, a lot of systems, of course, you need shooters. You need shooters kind of for the for different reasons in a certain offensive system. And for this system, if you don't have knockdown shooters that people are respecting, then they're obviously going to sag off those defenders and clog the paint. And whenever you clog the paint against this type of offense that is constantly trying to move and cut and drive, touch the paint, cut, pass, hit the, and if you're clogging that up and you can't, and it doesn't allow the movement, then it's really hard to have this offense go at an effective rate. And Dallas doesn't have a lot of great shooters right now. And teams are packing the paint. OKC already is a team that packs the paint, and they could pack the paint a lot more because Dallas doesn't have a ton of great shooters on their team. So that's one of the knocks against it. Like, man, this offense, you gotta run. Yeah, you gotta have the paint. You gotta have shooters out there to create the space to do that. Another part of this offense is it's basically positionless. Like in other offenses, you have these defined positions, but out there, you got to have these like skilled high IQ wings. But there's really not defined roles because everyone besides AD, everyone is passing and cutting. Now, the problem with Dallas is, and you're like, because I think the counter back to me would be, hey, well, why do we need a point guard out there so bad? Why is that a talking point so bad? Why are you harping on that you don't want Cooper to be the point? And that's probably what they told themselves in the beginning of, hey, this is a positionless offense, so we technically don't need a point guard that much. The problem is you got to have a point guard that can actually start the actions, that can get the offense at least going in that thing. And when you have PJ and Cooper and these guys that like, it's harder to get that offense going and get the ball down the floor and get to the spots you want to get to whenever you don't have a point guard that's out there running it and out there getting the sets going, getting the actions going. So that's one of the hardest things with this is like at times D'Lo, it's not just about like, hey, D'Lo can hit a floater. I mean, I know he missed shots the other night, but it's D'Lo can at least get the actions going. He can get them started. He can get the ball to the floor. And then, all right, he knows the pass to make. This offense requires so much high IQ players to where I'm just giving some comparisons because for us to see the difference. Not saying that you don't have to be a high IQ player in a high isolation offense, but in the Luka type of offense at times, especially like the end of games, it's like, hey, stay in that spot. Maybe you might shift over some or crash the boards, whatever. This one, everybody's moving. So everybody's making that decision of cut, not to cut, when to pass. Okay, well, now we're going to swing here. Then, like I said, there's all of these different tentacles off of, all right, we're going to run a split action when the two guards, when D'Lo and Hardy run a split action off of Anthony Davis there at the high post, and one of them cuts to the basket, the other one stays on the perimeter. Like, you got to have that high IQ to know where to go on the floor on offense. And you're like, Isaac, why are you trying to like confuse all of us? I'm trying to give a little bit of context of what this offense is, because I think a lot of people are just throwing out there, hey, this is a new offense. And there's some people that doesn't really understand how it's so new or just how new is it. It's just basketball. They're just going to go out there and the best players are going to get shots up. It's not that. This offense, I know I have bashed the offense so far, but this offense is hard to learn and install and all of that. So why do the Mavs have hope in this type of offense? Well, one, in order to run this offense, you got to have a big that is that can make the pass, that can make the shots, that you can run the offense through. And I get that Sabonis is probably a better passer than Anthony Davis and maybe a better playmaker in that, but I'm confident that AD is one of the best bigs in the game, right? So I hope if you're going to trade Luka for him, I hope you can run an offense through him. And I think AD, you at least have that big. It's not like they just have Gafford or Lively and they're saying, hey, we're going to run this Princeton offense and this Triano offense, and this is our big that we're running it through. which I think Lively's a good passer, by the way, but I think that's asking a lot to say we're going to run a whole offense to a Derek Lively. Hopefully he's healthy soon. So that's one reason why I think Dallas has hope in running this offense and turning it around. Two is the positionless players thing. I think Dallas has a ton of positionless players on the wing, and that's clearly what they were going for, right? Cooper, PJ, Najee, Max, Klay to an extent, Caleb Martin. There's so many of these guys that are positionless. So you're just in Jason Kidd's terms, they're basketball players. And they're throwing them out there, but you got to have that point guard too. Another reason to have hope for this offense in Dallas is, like I said earlier, there's a couple players that's played in that system, and Caleb Martin and PJ Washington, and PJ's played a lot of minutes in that system, and he's playing it really well now too. So hopefully they're leaning on PJ and stuff of how to run a little bit of Jay's offense and high IQ players. I think Dallas does have a lot of high IQ players. Klay Thompson, I think Cooper's really high IQ, and PJ, and obviously Anthony Davis. So like I think they got guys there that, I think they're high IQ players. The problems, and you're like, all right, the reasons why to be worried, and I'm still concerned to an extent, is you got to have a point guard to set this thing up. D'Lo is doing a good job at it right now, but they're still not committed to playing him a ton. You got to have buy-in to nonstop movement. I mean, that's just effort, and that's just different than what it was last year. You just got to keep on moving. You can't stand around. You can't hold the ball on offense. You're not even running the offense if the ball sticks with you and you're just over dribble, or Anthony Davis catches at 18 feet and just squares up and just like jab step, jab step, jab step. 1 foot fadeaway. And then you got to have shooters, and I'm concerned about Dallas' shooting right now. So hopefully it gives a little bit of insight into the offense, this flow offense, this Princeton offense, this evolution of the motion offense, and how hopefully it gives a little bit more context of how different it is from what they have played in the past and what they've been used to. And so I think I'm in the camp of like, hey, this is going to take time. I'm concerned, but also I think there's some reasons that have hope too, and to say, hey, all right, this is going to take a little bit of time to implement long term. We'll be back tomorrow with another Locked On Mavs.
Where's Mama? Is she over there?
Mama's in there.